I am one of the most blessed people you will ever meet in your life. I was raised a criminal. Our family motto was to lie, cheat, and steal. And yes, I accept referrals. Because we were criminals, we were constantly on the run, whether it was from the law, bill collectors, our cars being repossessed, or child protective services. This lifestyle resulted in us moving at least 19 times in 4 or 5 different states, oftentimes living in our vehicle or a local hotel where we would eventually sneak away in the middle of the night with all the toilet paper because we knew we'd be living in our car again. Living this way, I missed a substantial amount of school. The few times when we were actually stable enough to live in one spot, I got poison oak so severe that I was disfigured and my whole face would shut. But I couldn't go to the hospital because once again, we were on the lam. So I missed even more school. At one point in our lives, we were robbed at gunpoint by 4 men as we were in the drive-in theaters. They surrounded our car with sawed-off shotguns and stole our food stamps as Superman was flying across the screen. During these wonder years, we were also beaten, and the sexual abuse was simply horrific. As I grew into an adult, like most, I still had stumbling blocks. I rolled my car, leaving me scarred for life, and within a year after that, a man broke into my apartment and tried to rape me. Once again, I will repeat, I am one of the most blessed people you will ever meet. We all talk about being kind. Some of us are even concerned about being too kind, that the next generation is soft. All I know is I am a result of many unintentional and intentional acts of kindness by people who will forever be nameless, and also by people who will forever be a part of my life. Some of these acts of kindness came from policemen, ER workers, child protective services, volunteer rape advocates, and teachers, people you would expect to have a positive impact on others' lives. But nonetheless, they will forever be ingrained in my heart. There are so many other nameless people who impacted my life, like neighbors who put themselves in harm's way to stop the violence, a schoolmate who I barely knew would bring me schoolwork and then make me laugh, helping me forget my current situation, the kind words from a lady at a church, the acceptance from other kids when I moved into a neighborhood. The list goes on. My life, as tragic as it was sprinkled with hope. Hope that was strengthened by those who accepted and loved me. By the time I was 13, my mom finally left my dad and we settled in Hollister. Although she entered into another volatile relationship, we at least were no longer on the run. As you can imagine, moving as much as we did and living the life that we did, I might have had a few issues. I was socially awkward. I didn't exactly know what the current trends were, and I certainly didn't know what Birkenstocks were. I had a lot to learn about morals, and I was highly aware of my ignorance. Once again, as I mentioned before, I am blessed. For the first time in my life, I met people who got to know me and accepted me for who I was. People who are no longer nameless to me, but who will forever be a part of who I am, and a handful who will forever be a part of my life. Through these acts of kindness, I found my normal, however imperfect it might be. So don't let the fear of making our future generation weaker stop you from saying a kind word or doing a kind thing. Maybe you think your actions don't matter. You might not ever see the result of your kind words, but trust me, whether your actions are a mere pebble in someone's life or a huge stepping stone, they make a difference. There are so many people in this world who are responsible for me not ending up in prison, exchanging cigarettes for God knows what. They are the reason I raise beautiful human beings who will eventually raise more beautiful human beings. Kindness strengthens our future. You don't have to coddle someone to be kind. If you're currently watching Yellowstone, you know exactly what I mean. Some of the kindest actions I ever knew came in the form of a no-nonsense, stern grandfather, but I took them to heart because I know he didn't hand them out often. This kindness nonsense never made me weak. It gave me strength. Strength to keep moving forward, to improve myself, strength to stand up to the men who abused me, to educate myself, strength to not only fight off the man who tried to rape me, but also put him in prison, strength to look for the positive, and strength to stand here before you and proclaim, I am truly one of the most blessed people you will ever meet.
How did you get into real estate?
Well, I lived in El Dorado County for several years, and we're truly in the foothills. So there wasn't a lot of job opportunities. And the reason we moved there is because, my husband constantly kept us in debt. And no matter how successful I was, he just spent the money quicker than, I could bring it in. And so in order to save our marriage, he decided that he would be the breadwinner and we would capitalize on our income, on our equity in our home at the time, and then move up where we can afford to have a single income. And so we tried that, and he couldn't step up. And so then I got, and I didn't want to be a half an hour to 45 minutes away from my kids, one in kindergarten, one in second grade. And so I was like, well, what can I do where I can support my family and not be too far away from them? And so every day I would drive by a real estate brokerage. And so I called the broker and said, hey, what does it take to get into real estate? And she sponsored me. She paid for my school and my books. And I studied during lunch times. I studied once I put my kids to bed. And unfortunately, I passed the test the first time, which, that's always nerve-wracking, waiting for that phone call. Everyone can remember that. And I became a buyer's agent. And so I did that for a couple of years. And then I got into, standing on my own in real estate. But that was the drive, is I needed to support my family.
So Beth, that's a really good point you make of balancing that work with family as a mom and as a professional worker. How do you do it? I mean, what's that tip you can give to all the other real estate professionals out there who are trying to get into the industry right now in this difficult inventory time, and yet they're raising that family too, which is the most important thing to do? How do you do it?
I think the most important thing to realize is, especially if you're a single mom or a mom at all, is don't take this part-time. This is not a part-time job. So every mom, no matter what industry you're in, you are juggling so many things. You're getting up early, you're taking, you're doing breakfast, you're getting the kids off, you come home, you're doing homework, baths, reading stories, picking up the house, cooking. It is just simply not an easy thing to do, but we all seem to manage to do it. So I never took this as a part-time job, like, oh, I'll just do this in between, taking the kids to school. And like, nope, I was up at 8, I was work by 8 o'clock. I didn't quit until after, 5 o'clock or after. But I had the flexibility to go at my lunchtime and go spend time with my kids, or go on a field trip with them. So it did allow me that flexibility without having to request time off or worry about, I only have 2 weeks of vacation, I only have six sick days. So it's that kind of balance that's how I looked at it. It provided that type of balance.
Right. That control of your own schedule, of your own time clock,
right.
So that you can prioritize where necessary.
And, and to me, it was so important to me to be a role model to my children. So not only my daughter, but to my son. And so I wanted them to be proud of me and say, hey, that's my mom. Look what my mom does. And I wanted them to see the success, especially because there was turmoil behind the scenes. And I can tell you to this day, both my kids expressed to me on how proud they are of me. And that's probably one of the hugest accomplishments I'll ever achieve.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And you're right. It transfers that strength from you to them. They now see that they can do anything, right?
Mhm.
That adversity is part of life, but you can get through it. And I think that's the thing about what I think impressed our organization about you was through all of that that took place, you came out the other end even stronger. And now you're passing that down to your industry, to your colleagues. And interestingly enough, this is the month of National Women's Month or International Women's Month.
Yeah.
How do you tie this all together? I don't believe in oh, that's just a coincidence. No, you and I got together for some reason this month for a
Yeah.
reason. So what is your advice? We talked about advice to moms, but talk about women in the industry. It's such a male dominated. We're seeing a lot more, women in executive positions, but it still has that male dominance to it. How do you get through all that as a woman in today's 2022 professional world?
Well, it's just not easy, So it's kind of a lonely job, right? You're on your own. A lot of times, other agents don't want to share their information or how they're succeeding. So you're hoping you're doing it right, and you're putting one foot in front of the other. But every morning you have to get up, and once again, it's just not a part-time job. So you have to get your mindset right. I know a lot of people journal, they meditate, and that's not me. That doesn't work. That doesn't necessarily work for me. But I mean, I've been collecting quotes. You can't see it, but I look at this, how old this little
There
book
it
is.
is.
And
Yeah.
it's like throughout the years, I've just been collecting quotes. I read about strong, powerful women, not because I have anything against men, but I'm just drawn to strong, powerful women.
Bet.
And so, I mean, if you've never read Maya Angelou, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, you're missing out. That was one of the most powerful women you can ever read about. And then not just read her book, but her quotes to me are inspirational. And so I just find quotes very motivating to me. And my family teases me for some reason. I am very drawn to powerful Black women like Maya Angelou,
Right.
Queen Latifah. If you have not read Queen Latifah's book, Put on Your Crown, I love the fact she talks about her failures and what she learned from her failures and how she rose above it and how she'll never allow that to happen again. If you've never heard of Merle Evers Williams, she was one of the first books that I read that pertaining to a strong Black woman. It's called Watch Me Fly. And it says, what I learned on the way to becoming the woman I was meant to be. So
Wow.
that's where my inspiration comes from. I was, but as an adult, Oprah Winfrey was on the TV. Ellen DeGeneres was on the TV, and they talked about kindness and empowering yourself and taking care of yourself. So I've just always just taken all that in and keep doing the best that I can. But I think the most important thing is don't hold it in. Talk to somebody. It's amazing once you talk to somebody, you go, God, I'm kind of in a funk, and then you realize, what, I'm feeling it too. So to me, then you start understanding it's not just you. It's not a default in you.
Finding those moments, we got locked away for 2 years. We're in an isolated industry anyway, as you say. We're all, all you guys are all running on your own out there. And then you got locked away for 2 years for COVID. And now you're starting to come out. Are you finding that is rebuilding your energy? Now you're back out in the world. You're talking to friends. You're laughing. You're giggling. You're having a great meal. Playing into the positive side of your life as well, it sounds like.
Yeah. And, I did my best not to give in to the whole, shutdown, because I knew that would not be healthy. So, but, at the same time, when at the end of it, everybody's been impacted differently, but it doesn't, to me, it's not necessarily COVID related. it's life related. At 53, I have an older mom now that I'm taking care of, and I've got kids that I'm still doing my best to help them through college. So you're like, oh, I've got to do this and I've got to do that. But like yesterday, I had to take the whole day off because I had stuff to take care of for my mom, but I scheduled it in. This is the take care of mom day. And now, today I got back in the office and I've got a list of things that I got to take care of today. So you've got to schedule it in. My kids went to Colorado, they live in Colorado. It's extremely important for me to go see them on a monthly basis if I don't want to end up in the fetal position, not monthly,
Right.
but quarterly basis. But you've got to schedule that in. And yeah, it definitely is something you look forward to. But I'm on vacation with them and I'm still working. I'm writing an offer and, having to present it. And you just have to understand that as fortunate as we are to be able to do stuff like that, you still have to squeeze the work in.
Right. And maybe that's a good place to talk about, what do you do on a daily basis to stay organized? Obviously, you've probably got you schedule in, right? But do you also schedule in time for Beth? Is that a priority? Sounds like, you did it for mom, but is there a time that Beth gets to go and relax? And how important is that to you?
Well, I can't say that I schedule in relaxing, but I do schedule in exercise because I don't like it. And so if I don't schedule it, it's not going to happen. And I know there's the mindset of we have to get up at 4 a.m. and you start your exercise. And I was like, oh, you do not want to see me at 4 a.m., exercising or not. So I do get up at a reasonable hour, and I make sure that I prioritize getting a walk in or getting into the gym for like 20 minutes and then getting that over with. And then most importantly, going home and taking a shower. Do you know how easy it is to stay at home and not take a shower for a couple of days? Or is that just me? I don't know.
No, it's not just you. Good point.
So, yeah. But, it takes an hour out of my day to take a shower and get ready. I was like, I don't have time for that. And, but yeah, no, you need time for that. So that way you're prepared in case you get a phone call and have to go show property. So right. It's really just a matter of like a habit forming. So I'm reading a book right now, How to Build Habits. And, so keeping the mindset on constantly trying to improve yourself. And like I said, quotes are a big deal for me. Reading books are a big deal for me, which I don't do very often, but it found that it was a wonderful way to connect with my daughter because she would read a book and go, oh my gosh, Mom, you've got to read this. So now for the first time in forever, I've started reading for pleasure and not just for improvement. But what a wonderful way to connect with my daughter who lives out of state. Mm-hmm. So you look for those balances and the ways to connect. Like I said, call up a friend or, read a book with somebody and then, oh my gosh, this is happening. And I see a lot of people are connecting over movies, who's watching this series on Netflix? So I just binged watched this and a whole conversation gets started. So it just depends on what it is that you're interested in and what you're willing to share.
Got it. So Beth, let's go back into your time in real estate. Have you always been with the same broker, or did it take a while to find the right broker?
Well, it took a while to find the right broker, but also you have to realize life still happens as you're trying to build a career. And sometimes it shifts you in a direction that you don't expect it to shift you. And you find yourself in a new world, and you're trying to recreate yourself and in the industry. And so, yeah, I started out with a small brokerage, and it was good. It was really good for me as a buyer's agent. I learned a lot. I managed the transactions, and I built my confidence up enough to be able to stand on my own. And then 2008 hit, and I thought, well, it'd be better to go to a larger corporate brokerage. And so I did that. And I'd say it took me about a year to realize that that was not that cup of tea. And so I went back to another small brokerage where it was more personable and more mentoring. And so the mentoring to me was very important. And then also, the chemistry inside an office is huge too. So I did find a small brokerage that the chemistry was very supportive, and I thrived in that. But then I got into a car accident, and it sent me out of the industry for a little while. So I had to recoup from that. And then, a divorce. So I was in a situation where I could, wait for that next paycheck to come along. So I did get out of the industry for a while, but this is what I really have to say to anybody is, if for some reason you have to step out of this industry, do not let your license expire. You worked hard for it. So when it comes to renewing your education and renewing your license, always be proud of the fact that you got that license. You may not think you'll ever get back into the industry, but that's something you worked hard for. So keep it up. And I got back in not realizing I was going to. I moved, I got married, and there happened to be an opening here at Remax as a transaction coordinator, office manager. And I thought, oh, that'll be perfect because I have the real estate background.
Right.
And then after a couple of years of doing that, it just came naturally for me to go into sales. And now I've been back in sales for a couple of years. But if I had not held on to that accomplishment, it would have been a different story.
You spoke about your attraction to strong, powerful women, and specifically strong, powerful African American women or women of color. Who are your mentors now?
Well, my broker that she just sold her brokerage. So Vedana Freitas is an extremely strong woman, and she prides herself on training the best agents. And I have to say she truly has. And but I also find mentorship in just the realtors that I work with. So, my teammates, people you meet have different strengths. And I love, I work with Kim Macias, and her and I like open books. You want to learn something, you want to know something, give us a call. We'll tell you. We don't mind helping others because we appreciate it when others help us. That's my personality. And not everybody feels comfortable doing that, and that's fine. But in the environment that we have here, we are an open book. And it's funny when we learn something, we'll come to the office and go, oh my gosh, have you heard of this? Have you tried this? Oh, this is really working for me. So it's about uplifting each other and being proud of the fact that we're succeeding. And, trust me, there's some name calling when somebody gets a listing and the other person doesn't. It's all in gist.
That's just good competition.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but we straight out ask, how'd you get that? And we'll tell each other. So I think that's the best environment to be in. And it's not always found in real estate. And so that's where I get my not just mentorship, but strength is from the other women that I work with.
Got it. And I love your offer of mentoring. Call us, right? You're right in saying, if you're in the same office, in the same cubes, you may not want to give away your secrets, but guess what? I'm in San Benito, you're in Menlo Park. What can I do to help? Right? Because we're not competing for the same listing, and maybe I can help you out. It's an aspect I find in real estate is people who are incredibly good mentors, and just naturally absorb people around them to help them out with nothing expected in return. Let me help you out with your business. I think it's unique sometimes to industry, and real estate does a very good job at it. And it rolls us nicely into that conversation of kindness. That's a strong point of how you introduce this session to us. It's the little acts of kindness, I think, sometimes that are the most impactful.
Yeah, exactly. There's not a single day that goes by that I don't find someone to compliment. If I'm in any store, the grocery store, any store, and it's to me, it's just now second nature. It's not like I'm hunting someone out, but I'm always just aware of people around me, and I will always find someone to compliment. I was like, oh, I love your hair. I love what you're wearing today. You have a great smile. And it's amazing to see them light up. But it's funny too, because once in a while, I'll have someone come up to me and give me a compliment. I'm like, hey,
coming back at me.
yeah,
Nice.
and then what to me is extremely important is I do talk about kindness, but it's so very important to receive a compliment. A compliment's a gift. So if somebody gives you that gift, don't dismiss it. Look them straight in the eye and just go, thank you so much. That means a lot to me. So that encourages them to continue doing this, but also it opens up your mind to say, hey, I may not agree with what that person just said, but I'm going to take it in and I'm going to own that, because it's amazing as human beings how we will, if somebody says something negative to us, we'll be like, we'll carry that around forever. But if somebody gives us a compliment or says something nice to us, we blow it off. Don't blow it off, because it'll only strengthen you and who you are. So right. Give the compliments, and when you get them, let that person know how much it meant to you and absorb the compliment.
And I've got to imagine that back in those days where nobody knew what was going on in your life and what you were going through, a tiny little compliment probably put a smile on your face and probably, made the whole day better.
Well, the instability is you just there's no foundation, and right. There's nothing to build a foundation, on top of a foundation. So so when somebody was like, oh, you're smart, and I was like, oh my gosh, I am. Like, I just stay quiet so nobody understands my insecurities, my ignorance. Or I remember we didn't have a church we went to, but once in a while we'd stumble upon a church, and this lady was sitting next to her, and she goes, oh, you have a good singing voice. I was always told I couldn't sing, and trust me, I can't. But when she said it, I was like, I was on top of the world. Like, I do, oh yeah, the compliments are, they build up children. They just build up people.
Right. Little acts of kindness. One of the things I like doing best is I see somebody with a shopping cart. I take the shopping cart back to the little shopping cart corral for them. Right. It's such a small little thing, but I think just, letting people know, especially in this day and age, that we're sort of all here for each other. How can I help you out? Even with the most little thing. Speaking of helping people out, we need to sort of wrap it up. What's that final piece of Carbone wisdom that you really want the viewers of this show to know about after going through it all, coming out the other end and being a giver, but giving back, and hey, call me if you need. What's that final piece that people need to know about Beth, or about how to just do it better?
Okay, I love the fact that you just said how to do it better. I'll go back to Maya Angelou and quoting her. I did then what I knew how to do. Now that I know better, I do better. So just do better. You forgive yourself. Nobody's perfect. And you can lay in bed at night and beat yourself up for all of your mistakes. But once you ask a person or God or yourself for forgiveness, then let that thought go and replace it with positive. So raising my kids, I annoyed the heck out of them, because anytime they complained about something, they had to give me 6 positives. And then I remember for the umpteenth time, my car broke down, and I finally just broke down crying. And I'm like, I'm so sick and tired of not having a reliable car. And my daughter flew from the back seat up to the front. She goes, "Give me 6 positives, Mom." And we just
Perfect.
started laughing. And so it's just that negativity will always enter your mind easily. Learn to forgive yourself and then remind yourself of the positives and do better when you know better.
Right. And give a little kindness out there. It's amazing
Always.
what it will do for all of us. So
Always.
Beth, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you being with us and your words of advice, your wisdom, your observations, what you've gone through that you brought forward for the community, for real estate, for the whole thing. Really, really appreciate your time today.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. I hope it turns out okay.
I think we'll be just fine.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.